Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video. My name is Logan Schneider, if you don't already know who I am. Today I will be filming a YouTube video on how to jump the biggest gap at your local skate park. Let's get into it. Okay, so I strapped on the GoPro and this is gonna be for POV of me jumping gaps. I'm gonna break this video down into 3 easy steps. First step, speed. Second step, push through the ramp like with your body. And then the third step, I know it's broad, but you gotta spot your landing. And I'm gonna get more into detail of those right now. Okay, so the first step is speed. I know it's kind of basic, but it's very important when it comes to jumping gaps because you need that speed to help shoot you over whatever box jump or gap you're jumping at the skate park. So a big part with speed, you need to learn how to pump. And how to pump at a skate park, basically what pumping is when you go into the pocket of the bowl and you push your body down into the ramp each time when you go around a pocket like that. So when you're going to pump those, it actually, when you pump into it, it shoots you with like a speed boost. I'm gonna show you guys what that looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna be showing you guys what it looks like from this POV angle, what it's like to pump around the bowl to get the speed for your gap. You're gonna be dropping in and you go over this, push into the ramp, just like that. Let me show you guys that again. So I'm gonna pump around a couple different places. So I'll be going right here, drop in. You need to push your body into the ramp, like in, down, in, down. But before you go into pumping, you need to learn how to even get into the bowl with a certain amount of speed. So you need to learn how to jump into the bowl at a certain length or distance from the coping to get into the pocket to give you another speed boost. And I'll show you guys what that looks like too. So you've learned how to pump. You need to see how to drop in for your gap. In this reference, I'm going to be doing this gap right here. I'm gonna jump from here over into that. So when you drop in, maybe since this gap's a bit small, I can still do it, but you can't, for the most part, if you're trying to jump a big gap, you can't just drop in at the very end and make it over. See how I clipped? You have to learn how to jump further from the quarter into the pocket. So let me describe that for you. The further you jump in from here, you'll land down further in the pocket. If you jump from back here, you'll land into the quarter much higher, which will give you the most amount of speed. So let me show you the difference. This is me jumping a gap from jumping pretty far away from the quarter. See, I even had to stop my speed because of how much more speed I got just from jumping further away. This is me doing the gap, jumping closer to the ramp. I clipped. So basically, the best way to drop in, and this isn't for necessarily beginners, you need to have learned how to ride a skate park good and know how to drop in correctly before you get into jumping further away. You need to at least have learned how to jump into a quarter and drop in. So jump, drop in, not just normal foot plant drop in. And you will need to learn how to time everything correctly, because you don't want to jump all the way back here with no speed and then clip your front wheel. You need to have learned how to time it correctly, and once you've done that, then you can get in jumping further away. This doesn't apply to all gaps, believe me. This does not apply to all gaps. You can jump a lot of gap without jumping back, but but this applies to some gaps. So just hear me out. So if you're trying to jump the gap at your local skate park and there's no quarter pipe in it, you're just jumping like a bank to bank, this does not apply to you. And even if you're doing a gap like this one right here, bull gap, coming to a gap like bull gap right here, you won't just be dropping in and going straight into the gap. You will need to pump around the bowl and get in. That's why I put pumping first before dropping in, because dropping in doesn't apply to all gaps. Pumping does, for the most part. Some gaps you'll just need to push, but we'll get into that later. So let me give you guys an example. For a gap like bull gap, you do drop in, but if you pump these quarters hard enough, you can see how much more speed I have built up just from pumping rather than dropping in. If I did that gap with just dropping in and not pumping, I wouldn't have made it. I can start this gap just flat and pump around and make it over. Dropping in is important, but it's not the biggest key. Okay, now to the next step. So you learned how to jump into the bowl with speed. You learned how to pump, but another big thing for getting speed, sometimes you're not gonna be jumping a gap in a bowl. You may be jumping from some kind of bank or something. You need to learn how to push, but you need to push correctly. So what that means is you can't like push down on your scooter or on the ground and like it can stop you. So you need to learn when the right time to push is and when it isn't, if that makes sense. I'll show you guys what that means right now. Okay, so let me get into a little bit more detail on how to push at the right time for a gap. I think a good gap to explain this on is this one right here, where I jump from the bank over onto this, crossing over the jacuzzi, because there's not a drop in and there's nothing really to pump except for that, and I use that to my advantage. So I have to push at certain times to maximize the amount of speed I get. Also, do not push and stop yourself unless you want to. If you're trying to get speed, you do not want to push your foot in. You want to push it out. So when you push, you want to push with your foot and use the palm of your foot to push out. If you're trying to stop yourself, obviously you do want to push in and try to stop yourself. Now that I've shown you how to push, let me show you guys the best time estimated of when the right time to push is. Obviously, I will not know the gap you're jumping. I will not know any of that. This is just for you to try to estimate for yourself. So I'm gonna show you on this gap when I push. Okay, so now I'm gonna go jump the gap. As you can see, I pushed at the right times. I pushed around right here in this area, and that was my final push, because if you push right before you go up the ramp, you will not be prepared to jump over. Okay, and the final thing to learning how to push is do not push too much. If you push too much, it will do the opposite of what you want. If you push too much on a gap, you'll actually lose speed, then gain it. Okay, so you learned how to get a good amount of speed for your gap that you want to jump. Next is a little bit hard to explain, but I'm gonna try my best. You need to learn how to push your body through the ramp. So let's say you have the speed that you need for the gap, but you're jumping and you're like clipping, or you're not quite making it enough. And this is the max amount of speed you can get from this area that you're trying to jump. You need to learn how to go and push your body forward or through the coping or through the ramp, and it'll help you get over the little amount of space that you still need to do. And I'm gonna show you guys what that looks like. Okay, so I feel that the chipper gap here at Rush Skate Park would be the best gap to show you guys the best way to optimize pushing your body through a gap because it's so long, but you can still get speed for it. What's up, Edgar?
What's up?
So, as you can see, when I went off of this gap doesn't necessarily have coping because you come off on this round part right here, but you really have to push your body forward to make it over, or else you won't. So a good tip is to not like lean forward front flip. So I wouldn't lean like this, but I would pop off the coping and kind of push your arms through, like push your body through, like on a gap where there's a lot of coping and you still want to make it over, you got to push through the coping, you got to push through the ramp with your body. Okay, so we got through the first 2 steps. We learned how to get the speed, push through, but some gaps will be a bit weird on the landing. So you need to learn how to spot your landing just like any other trick. But gaps aren't normally like necessarily built to be jumped because that's not, the skate park wasn't built to do that gap. So you need to check before you jump the gap where you're gonna land and where you're gonna ride into, because some gaps you will jump and it'll go straight into a ledge or like some like a rail, and you need to learn, or before you even jump, that you need to check and spot your landing before you even go. Okay, so this gap is a good example of a gap where you need to spot your landing because of the landing of the bank goes straight into a ledge or a rail if you're jumping it that big. So you need to land at a certain point around this area so you can go straight, because if you go right here and you go diagonal, you're going straight into that ledge. Okay, so here's another example of a gap that you need to spot your landing on. This is called Big Bull Gap. You jump from this straight part over into this bank. This gap is the same gap that I 360'd in my one video. So the gap goes and you have to hit it diagonally to land in the bank right here, or else you're going straight into this ledge.
I did a late bar.
So you need to spot your landing and know that you need to land diagonal this way and not that way. Okay, so now that I've shown you all the tips and tricks to jumping a gap, I'm going to show you guys some examples of different gaps at my skate park that I jump, and you guys can critique however you want on how I do it. So I will be showing the POV and the long lens, and you guys can see what it looks like to jump these gaps. Alright, so I know I did a whole video on this specific gap of me 360ing it, but I'm going to show it as an example anyways.
Good times, good times. Goodbye.
That shit was some loud pack.
Alright guys, so this is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed me teaching you guys how to jump gaps. If you guys have any questions that particularly go to the gap about at your skate park, you can message me or comment on the video like privately and send me a picture or a video of the gap, and maybe I can help you guys learn how to jump it if it's a bit different from what I've explained in the video. And if you guys haven't already, please like, subscribe, comment. It means a lot. Please share my channel around to your friends I'm really trying to grow here on YouTube, and I've been on that YouTube grind recently, so it means a lot, and it means more than you think. See you guys. Bye.
Subscribe.